God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. We are in the season of Epiphany. The first Sunday we talked about John the Baptist and the baptism of Jesus. And we also talked about how God, the wise men coming in to visit Jesus. And we have come to understand that the purpose of this Epiphany season is to make Jesus known to us as the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings, and how he manifested his power to the world. And today, we think about his power. The first miracle that he performed in Galilee, the Cana of Galilee. I've heard many sermons on this particular passage, and it is a very commonplace to talk about Jesus and his transforming power. Countless sermons have been preached on that. We can talk about the colored water, regeneration by water, or even about the transformed water. But these are not the common times where common things are happening to us. The place we live now is not a common place at all. School shootings, devastation by fire and floods, killing in a synagogue on one side. And on the other side, we are dealing with alternate facts. Government shutdown, political rivalry, and animosity with proclivity for fragmentation, and petulant behavior from the political leaders. During these uncommon times, we as good Christians, well-meaning Christians, want to give generous donations, say heartfelt prayers, and do acts of kindness. Today, we also mark the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It is common for us to think about his contribution and his speeches, his vision, and even his vices. But today, I would focus on what is uncommon in Martin Luther King Jr. and also in Cana's story. So let us think about a word that we don't normally use. A word that is uncomfortable to some of us, particularly those of African American descent, or for a person like me from India, coming from a class-conscious society where remnants of colonialism still exist. It is the word servant. Let me read to you just 4 verses from the gospel lesson for today. Jesus' mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water," and they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some water out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so. And the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine, and he did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. In 4 to 5 verses, we hear the servant mentioned 5 times. The weddings are usually about a couple, the bride and the groom. We do not even know their names, but they are incidental to the story. It is an uncommon way to think about a wedding. The story is about an embarrassing thing that happened at the wedding. The wine ran out. Along comes Jesus. If you look at the narrative, Jesus did not really do much there. All the heavy lifting was done by the servants. They had to fill 6 jars of water which could hold about 18 to 20 gallons. It was something like 200 gallons of water. The servants were there. They had a job to do. They just did what Jesus asked them to do. Today I want to focus your attention on these servants for a moment. First of all, you're going to see they followed divine direction. This heavy lifting without asking any questions. They had no clue as to why they were drawing so much of water from the well. But they did. And they did it well. The story says to us that they filled the jars not just halfway, but to the very top. This act of heavy lifting with unwavering commitment, that has to be understood by all of us. However, this was behind the scene preparation for a miracle. These servants are the unsung, unwitting, and unseen people behind the miracle. These are the unsung heroes of the story. Today I remember with gratitude one such unsung hero of my ministry in my previous church. 25 years she was a member of the altar guild, never the directors. Her name was Hazel Klein. She was a member of the altar guild who did her weekly duties without fail. She was there every Friday and Saturday doing her work unnoticed, without any complaint whatsoever. She called herself LOL. She signed her Christmas cards to me as LOL. She prided herself as LOL of the church. For those of you who don't know what LOL stands for, it's simply a little old lady. She was the little old lady of the church. When she had to be taken to the OR for a leg amputation, she insisted that I also push her bed to the OR. After her surgery, when the anesthesia wore off, she wanted to see me. That day she taught me what phantom pain is all about. She had come back and she was able to talk. She had no right leg and she wanted me to massage her right leg. And I was massaging the mattress. And she said to me, "It feels so good." She was the unsung, unseen person in that church. Now I am sure that she is now serving the Lord at the heavenly altar. Robert Fulham, who wrote All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, says that he placed along the mirror in his bathroom a picture of a woman who is not his wife. That is risky business. Every morning as he stood there shaving, he looked at the picture of that woman. The picture of a small, humped-over woman wearing sandals and a blue Eastern robe we call a sari. She's surrounded by important-looking people in tuxedos, evening gowns, and regalia of royalty. Just the picture of Mother Teresa receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. Now Fulham said, He keeps the picture there to remind him that more than a resident of any nation, more than even the Pope, more than any chief executive officer of any major corporation, this woman has the authority because she is a servant. Now, after being here for about 4 years, more than 4 years, I can see very clearly certain unsung heroes and servants at St. David's. We are going to experience a seismic change here in St. David's on May the 19th. Mother Karen will retire, leaving this congregation in a fairly healthy state. What I have seen here is a congregation working around the church and not around the rector. And some of you have expressed your desire to devote yourself to do some heavy lifting during transition. The story of Cana speaks directly to us. We, as a congregation, can follow the divine direction with unwavering commitment so that true transformation can take place here at St. David's. We are the servants of the Lord. We are the heavy lifters for the ministry of Jesus in this place. The ministry we have here is not our ministry, but an extension of God's ministry in Christ Jesus. Jesus' ministry is not merely a past influence that reaches to the present. On the contrary, that ministry points us to the future. The ministry we are called upon is to do a faithful ministry, God-glorifying ministry, Spirit-empowered ministry, world-transforming ministry, and a kingdom-announcing ministry. We are going to do some heavy lifting. As St. Augustine said once, miracles are not contradiction of nature. They are only contradiction of what we know of nature. May we continue to do the heavy lifting behind the scene so that may Jesus continue to transform our lives and the lives around us and our life together for years and years to come. In the name of the Father, and of the Son,